Voll schwer. Welcome back to Lillehammer in Norway, where we are getting ready for the final slide of the regular World Cup season for the women's bobsleigh. And we have a great race in prospect with just 0.02 of a second separating our top two sleds and a surprise interloper in a podium position. Well, all of that to come in the next 45 minutes or so as we round out the season on a crisp, cold Sunday here in the 1994 Winter Olympic track. So 15 sleds in our field, with a number of them, including all of our US teams, heading off to Lake Placid to get in some vital training before the World Championships. And in the season so far, well, it has been one name really who has dominated. Only 4 drivers have taken medals, only 3 have won races, and one who has won most of all started the season as she meant to go on, the reigning world champion in women's monobob and the Olympic champion in bobsleigh, Lara Nolte, with Deborah Levy starting the season with gold. New break woman Leonie Kluvik joining the team this season, but in Sigulda in Latvia, she combined with Nolte to take gold on her debut. Well, fellow podium botherers that day included silver medalist Kim Kilicki and Keisha Love taking bronze in Sigulda, the only non-German to take a medal in women's bobsleigh this year. Moving on to the Veltins Ice Arena in Winterberg, it was gold for Lisa Buchwitz. After a strong run in the monobob as well, she doubled up with silver for Nolte and bronze for Kilicki. And it was Kim Kilicki's turn in St. making the best of the longest track in the business to undo her start deficit to her teammates, claiming victory with Nolte in the silver medal position and Buchwitz again completing the podium. So the world champion struck gold in St. but as we got to Innsbruck, it was time again for the Olympic champions to motor on. Lara Nolte, Deborah Levy combining for gold, with Kilicki taking silver on the pushers track, and bronze going to Lisa Buchwitz. 4th place there, as in St. going to Alana Myers-Taylor. And finally, or penultimately, to Lillehammer last weekend. Gold again for Lara Nolte, her 4th women's bobsleigh win of the season. Kilicki taking her 3rd silver to go with a gold and 2 bronzes, and another bronze medal for Lisa Buchwitz. Buchwitz, the only one of the Germans to have missed out on a season streak of podiums. 4th place in Sigulda behind Keisha Love. It's been a different story for Buchwitz in the monobob, of course, winning the World Cup title, her 2nd consecutive Crystal Globe in the monos, and she is definitely the woman that the Americans will be looking to beat first and foremost. But of course, America, as well as Keisha Love, has got race winner Alana Myers-Taylor in the monobobs. She won the race in St. And the Olympic champion in the monobobs, Kaylee Humphries. So there is lots going on in both the women's field and in the mono field when we get to the World Championships. And on home ice for the Americans, you cannot rule them out. You can't rule out the Canadians either. And that brings us a little bit back to today's story, because Melissa Lotholtz of Canada looking very strong after the first heat. Kim Kilicki there struggled a bit in the first run. 0.5 second and more off the pace, only in 7th position after her first heat. 7th fastest start with Vanessa Mark, and 7th at the bottom of the run. Well, you can hear from the footsteps on the snow. Yeah, that's the noise the snow is making, just how cold it was overnight here. Down to -18. So our track crew doing another sensational job. I mean, it doesn't hurt that it was cold overnight, because that stops the track melting away. But boy, have they had a lot of traffic down this track in the last month. So again, in fabulous condition. And you can see it winding its way down the valley here. The organisers have put on a fantastic show for the crowds and a great opening ceremony for all the athletes. Really, really impressive stuff. And this track, well, built over 30 years ago now for the 94 games. It's been used for all sorts of stuff, including Top Gear runs with various different odd bobsleighs and rally cars and everything else. But it is still fast and demanding. It does not forgive errors, particularly in the mid part. You've got to get in quite quickly here. You go over the brow really quite soon after the start. Keisha Love with the start record with Azaria Hill from last season. We got close to it in the first heat. Out at corners 1, 2 and 3. The double left-handers 4 and 5. Little tap on the left, almost unavoidable. And then into corner 6. Big 2 pressure and a little bit omega corner. Leads you into the labyrinth. Good exit of 6 makes this a breeze. If you're late off 6, this is a nightmare. And then down into 10 and 11. The 2 left-handers that run together into corner 12. That sets you up hopefully okay for 13. Pointing at least straight towards 13. Straight down to 14 without a tap, hopefully, and then corner 15, 2 pressures, hold it up, and then 1 steer in 16, release and across the line. That's probably not how coaches describe it, but that's how it works in my head. Probably just as well I'm talking about it rather than coaching. So 15 sleds safely down in the first heat, 15 to go in the second. You saw a little flash of one of our 4 runners here. And those will often be athletes who are not yet qualified for World Cup races, who are learning new tracks. Maybe some from the local Bob club, that quite often happens as well. Skylar Seaton limbering up, she'll be racing with Melissa Lottholtz. Behind her, Ashley Werner. And the crews all getting themselves warmed up with Swamba Kambundi. Ashley in her own little world. Lots and lots of athletes use a little bit of music just to kind of separate themselves from the outside world to really focus on what they're doing. Our World Cup point standings, well, it's unlikely, unless she has a crash and finishes last, that Lara Nolte won't claim the Crystal Globe. But behind her, not a lot of space. 28 points behind Kim Kilicki and Lisa Buchwitz. And at the moment, if Lisa finished second and Kim Kilicki finishes where she is in 7th place, those positions change and Lisa gets the runner-up spot, the second, the silver Crystal Globe in the World Cup rankings. Well, that is all yet to come. And you can see some names there that have done 1 or 2 races during the season. We will probably see a lot more of them next year. So the first heat, well, what a great start for Melissa Lottholtz. Not with Leah Walkenden behind her, who was due to be in the sled with her, but with Skylar Seaman. Leah not well this morning, so Skylar gets in at the last minute. Wasn't expecting to be sliding, but they lie in the bronze medal position. Now they're just 400s ahead of Catty Biles, so that's their battle, because the tussle for the lead is a 2-horse race. Lisa Buchwitz and Ella Scooten, they went off 5th in the run, and they were the leaders for a long while. When Kim Kilicki came and went, Lisa must have felt fairly happy about her first run, but Lara Nolte and Deborah Levy outstarting their teammates, the Olympic champions, and Nolte, the youth Olympic champion here in 2016, putting on a really good start, and that gave Nolte the chance to escape from that little error and come across the line 0.02 of a second in front. So flags of the International Bobsleigh Skeleton Federation, the IBSF, and of our hosts Norway flying side by side on the staffs. The athletes continuing with their warm-up operations. Margot Bock and Carla Seneschal here for France. And Erica Voss and Charlotte Ross for Canada. Charlotte Ross making her World Cup debut. They'll be first off. Voss with a decent start. They were 11th at the start, but she lost ground below the 10, 11, 12 section and lost speed and left her at the tail of the field in 15th place. Nevertheless, made the cut didn't quite make the cut, 22nd in the race last week when she made her World Cup debut. Down there at the bottom of the picture, those buildings, you can see that's the refrigeration plant and the maintenance offices down at the bottom of the track. And corner 15 and 16, you can see looping around down the bottom. With the red shading, that's the straight 13 to 14. So going backwards, sort of up the hill, 10, 11, 12, or 12, 11, 10. The right-handers, and then up through the labyrinth, which, when you're looking at it, looks quite curvaceous, but when they're flying down there at 75 miles an hour, anything but straight. So Erica Vos and Charlotte Ross will be off first. Ying-Ching, Liv Chin second, Sarah Blizzard and Ashley Werner in third in our running order. And Carla Seneschal just a few hundreds ahead of Victoria Chinanska. And then Kim Kalicki, she'll be trying to chase down Adele Nicol. Just 100th between them. And only a few hundreds ahead, Mel Hasler, 48 hundredths off the lead. Katty Bile and Melissa Lotholtz battling for the bronze. Final run of the Monobob World Cup Series. It's the 7th race after of the Women's Bobsleigh World Cup Series. 7th race after we lost the race in St Moritz because of warm weather on the Sunday. Erica Vos and Charlotte Ross, the rookie, get underway. Vos, 28-year-old former brakewoman, and the ex-rugby rugby playing, I'm not sure she's still ex, Charlotte Ross, the 21-year-old brakewoman. They started 5:55 in the first heat, 5:57 in the second. So if everybody is a couple of hundred slower, the start record will remain intact. We got close to it in the first heat, only 200ths away. Now, she had a good first run. She's late into the labyrinth. And that's the exit of 6 that puts you in late. Through 10 and 11 down into corner 12. Little late flop off 12 means she was skidding into 13, very late off 13. Not sure if she knows quite how close she got there. Track has had a fresh spritz between the runs, 53.38, 52.99 in the first heat. So not as quick. Brakes, brakes, brakes. Nice work from Charlotte Ross. Erica Vos down in one piece. They move into the leader's box. And that's not something that she has done before. So our floor manager down there will hustle the girls along. Charlotte Ross just getting her feet a little hooked up inside the sled. You try and get them around the back of the driver's seat if you've got long limbs as she has. And there you go, sideways, down into 13, hard take on onto 13. She didn't steer it off. Either she knew she was good, or she didn't. I'll give her the benefit of the doubt on that one, but in the end, Erica Vos on the left, Charlotte Ross on the right are your leaders, and they didn't stack it. So every landing is a good landing if it doesn't involve using your head. Ying-Ching and Liv Chen next for China. 14th fastest start, 14th at the bottom. They were second out this morning. And Ying, 10th here last year, but only 19th last week. She did make the cut. This her 30th women's bobsleigh start and the 4th for her brakewoman. So Liv's done all the races this year. All the races that Ying has been in, at least this season. So 300's back at the start, a 10th back. We'll see if there's a crossover. Fastest speed on the left-hand side, that's the number 1. On the right-hand side, the times. Position 2 at the moment. That's relative to everybody that's gone before. She's bringing it back. Slightly better speed below 9 than Erica Vos. A cleaner exit out of 13. She's building her advantage, and that's that speed you get through the labyrinth. If you get cleanly into the labyrinth, it builds your speed for the bottom of the track, so your leaders change and the Chinese athletes will move in. 53.22 compared to 52.86 in the first heat, so they're not as fast either. And the coaches will be wanting to get warm clothing on their athletes as quickly as possible. I know they don't have to go again today, but they are hot and wearing a layer of lycra that is not going to do much in this temperature. Again, you can see the brake woman of Chen, head buried in the back of the sled, staying out of the wind. Sarah Blizzard of Australia. Your spikes don't do much for keeping your feet warm either, by the way. Greatly underspoken fact, your feet are always like blocks of ice. We don't have that thing that penguins have that cuts off the circulation to your toes. So Sarah Blizzard, Ashley Werner for Australia. Ashley's 4th World Cup race as a brake athlete after 4 World Cup races as a driver in her career as a driver. 6th women's bobsleigh race for Sarah Blizzard. Came here in Europe Cup and then raced for the last couple of weeks on this track, so starting to build that knowledge. This is part of the problem for young drivers up against the most experienced, is that knowledge and experience absolutely equal speed. Second fastest start so far, 5.69, so quicker than Ying Qing, our current leader. 0.04 of a second. She's continuing to hold green numbers, slightly slower than the Chinese sled into the labyrinth. Not a bad looking labyrinth though, and that gives a good speed into 10 and 11. Still second fastest, but it was Erica Voss who was first out, Ying Qing second out, setting the speeds, but now faster from the Aussies, and they will take the lead at the line by 0.2 of a second. So 6th World Cup race for Sarah Blizzard, and that is comfortably her best result. Previous best at 17th in the season opener in Altenburg, and that will be the lead with 12 to go, no worse than 13th place position. It's all about that learning process. And when you spend a couple of weeks on a track, not just on your own training, but with everybody else and racing as well, that really amplifies that experience gathering. Ashley on the left, Sarah on the right. I want to go and have a look at what Ashley's best result as a driver was. I probably won't do that now, there's more going on. Next up, Kelly van Petegem with Zansley van Drescher. So, with a run into 12th position for Kelly. 6th place in Sigulda, her standout result of her career and this season so far. 5.71 getaway, couple of hundreds slower than the Aussies. And they were only 1100s up in the first heat. Kelly's 9th race in the World Cup as a driver, her 10th in total, as she had 1 World Cup start as a brake woman. And Xanthi's 2nd World Cup race. Made her debut in Altenburg in December. Just 1 race previously in Europe Cup a year before that. A 10th up, holding the advantage and fractionally better speed as well. They're doing over 75 miles an hour at this stage. Hitting over 80 at the bottom. Across the line, just in front, 53.02. So, if the first heat didn't count, she would have led Sarah by 100th on that run alone. So, Kelly van Petegem, and that will be the 2nd best result of her season, and I think the 2nd best result of her career as well. So no worse than 12th. And not a bad exit out of 13. Little double tap on the wall that squared her up. Out of 14, little rock and rolling into corner 15, but she prevented the sled getting too high up and held the line. So Kelly van Petegem and Santhi van Drescher lead. Sarah Blizzard goes off to offer her congratulations. Next up, Cynthia Appiah, silver medalist yesterday in the monobob, and a disappointing first run with Morgan Ramsey behind her. 25-year-old brakewoman in her 4th start. Appiah was 9th last season, 11th last week. So 11th again in the first heat. Let's see if they can find a little bit more. Well, 5:54 is just about where they were in the first heat with a 5:51. Looks like the start is not quite as quick as it was in heat 1. Into the labyrinth. Nicely onto 7. Best speed so far. I'm sure she'll be looking to pick off a sled or 2 at the least. Ooh, little late. Not too bad out of 13. Wrong side coming into 14 though. Quite high first pressure, very wavy in 15 again. 4th speed at the line. Well, she takes the lead away from the Belgians. Kelly on the left, Santhi on the right. Okay, 52.47 first heat, 52.87 second heat. Not sure how much of that is track, how much of that is Cynthia. A couple of athletes are being within a couple of tenths of their first run. And that's 4 tenths slower. From 12 down to 13, not too bad. Actually just got a little too far over to the right coming on to 13, but the exit was decent. No excessive steering. She did get fired over a little bit to the right, and that put her offline into 15, into 14, late out of there, and so high into 15. See you at the Worlds indeed. That is everybody's focus now, the moment they step out of the sled. So, our first 5 sleds down, we have 10 to go here, with Cynthia Appiah as our current leader. So it's been a little bit of an interesting first heat. Various sleds out of position, you'd have to say, in a field like this. Cynthia Appiah would probably hope to be higher than 11th. But that's where she ended up. In fact, that's where she was last week as well. Silver yesterday in the monobob, though. German Brains Trust chatting at the bottom, and at the top, the Romanians. So as so often happens in the lead up to the World Championships, you see extra coaching being brought in by lots of different nations. And when we get to Lake Placid, well, hopefully weather conditions will be not dissimilar to this. February is usually pretty cold. Hopefully it'll be relatively sunny as well, and we'll get good fast ice. A group of ice meisters already out there working on that. Cynthia Appiah on the right hand side now. Often case, the driver is smaller than the push athlete, but Cynthia is a tall athlete and was a strong pusher. And there is a maximum weight limit for the sled and crew, and that means if you've got a big tall driver, you tend not to be able to fit a big tall push athlete in behind. So it also goes with speed also, obviously, but Morgan Ramsey clearly there, the shorter of the two. And actually that's a little bit the deal here as well with Andrea Greco and Teodora Vlad. Andrea is the taller of the duo. Teo a little shorter and a fraction lighter as well. 10 to go in the final women's bobsleigh race of the IBSF World Cup season. World Championships are coming at us over the horizon. But Andreea Grecu and Teodora Vlad for Romania racing into 10th place in the first heat. Just 200s ahead of current leaders Cynthia Appiah and Morgan Ramsey, and they start 200 slower, so it's a dead heat, a one-heat race. They start dead level, but of course Appiah with a slightly faster start with that initial speed advantage. Andreea Grecu has undone that by corner 6 and is back with her first heat advantage alive. Now, fourth best down into the labyrinth. That's not a good run through the labyrinth. She will lose speed further down as a result. So she's already dropped back to parity into red numbers, only the 5th best speed. Appiah was quicker down at the bottom than this. And Andreea Grecu is going to lose a place, I think. Still tied, 4th best speed. It's going to be close. It might be a dead heat at the line. It's not. She's just 500s in front. So 500s up at the line. 200s advantage in the first heat, 300s in the second, but that was close enough for the coaches all the way down. Little stumble just as she was loading there, I think, from Andreea Grecu. And in terms of her season, well, that's actually her second best placing. She had 2 8th places at the start of the season in Altenburg and Sigulda, and then 16th, 19th, 2 12ths, and now a 10th place. So starting to regain some of that form she had at the beginning of the year. So Andreea on the left, Teodora on the right, racing together for the 28th time. And this duo, Wiktoria Trzynanska, Lucia Makrosova, have not been separated in a World Cup race yet, apart from in Lonely Bob, obviously, where Wiktoria's on her own. 16th World Cup race together. They made their debut in Winterberg in January 2023, and they have been together in every World Cup start since. First time here this season, didn't race here last year. 18th place last week, and currently in 9th place. Now, her World Cup best result is a 9th place finish in Sigulda, second race of the season. So she is on target for another World Cup equaling run here, a World Cup personal best equaling run, but she needs to find the speed further down. Starting 5.69, she started 5.67 in the first heat, so slower than Andreea Grecu. She's got to undo that 1400ths of a gap, and she has. Down to 500ths of a second. She had 700s in hand, 500s over hand over Andreea Grecu in the first heat, and now she's in the lead with better speed. Trzynanska meandering into 14, 400s up, second best speed. I think that's quicker than Grecu across the line. Tied, dead heat. So they both will get at least a 9th place finish. So personal best territory for Wiktoria Trzynanska, and for Andreea Grecu, still in the top 10, but this time up to at least 9th place. That's what happens when these battles are so tight. 500ths of a second faster in the first heat, Wiktoria Trzynanska. 500ths of a second slower in the second than Andreea Grecu. And that is where a lot more than that 500 went. And then again, another 10th of a second probably drifted away in that skid and double tap going into 14. So a dead heat for the lead with 8 to go. And next up, Margot Bock. Now, Margot was only 700ths faster than Trzynanska, 1200ths faster than Grecu in the first heat. Again, paired with long-time competition partner Carla Seneschal. Their 14th World Cup race together since they made their debut on home ice in La Plagne 2 seasons ago. 5:55 getaway. That's a decent start. That'll be a top 10 start. 1300s up at the start, 1700s up as she comes to corner 6. Nice exit from 6, good height in 7. Through 8 nicely, 1900s up, building that advantage. Bobsleigh, yesterday in the 2-man, drove Margot's sled. Margot is driving the Monaco sled today in the women's race. 2/10 up, holding her advantage. She's going to lead at the line. She will be no worse than 8th place across the line by 1400ths. But again, that's half a second slower than her first heat. '12th here last year, 16th last week, and no worse than 8th place now for Margot Bock. So a personal best in Lillehammer. Her career high, a 4th place finish in St Moritz 2 seasons ago. Her best race here, 12th place last season, and now up to 8th place. That is actually her 2nd best result of the season, Margot. 7th place in St Moritz, race 3. Beg your pardon, Winterberg, race 3, was her best this season. So Margot Bock, the leader for France as we get to our first German sled. Now, often this season that would mean Margot is in 4th place, but it was a disappointing first run for Kim Kilicki and Vanessa Mark. 7th place, just 700ths ahead of Margot Bock. And that is not a given that she will maintain that advantage. It is a tiny, tiny margin of time. Kilicki, the silver medalist last week, 2nd in the overall World Cup rankings. Gold medalist on this track last year. Vanessa Mark in her 12th women's bobsleigh race. Kilicki's 39th in the World Cup. 700s up, first heat advantage remains intact, but they didn't start as quick as the French, which is part of the deal there, I think. 1300s up, she's trying to chase down a top 6 finish. To do so, she'll have to overhaul Great Britain's Adele Nichol. Best speed so far, she is building a decent advantage. Don't forget, Margot Bock nearly half a second slower than her first heat. So if Kilicki even matches or gets close to her first heat, she will have a decent lead across the line, 52.46. Well, that's 2/10 slower than her first heat, but still enough to put clear air. That's 3600ths faster than Margot Bock on that run alone. All right, are we going to see redemption? I'm not sure Kilicki is 100% fighting fit, to be honest. She just looks like she's sort of been limping a little bit. And she's got a couple of weeks before we start racing in Lake Placid. I'm not sure what the plan is in terms of when the German team go and start training. I imagine there might be, it's going to take the best part of a week to get the sleds there, so at least 1 week of recuperation and physio. Kim on the right, Vanessa on the left. Kim is looking like it's the end of the season, isn't it? Isn't she? Okay, 6 to go. Great position in the first heat for Great Britain's Adele Nichol and 4-time Team GB Summer Olympian Ashley Nelson. Actually a 4x100 sprinter. Just getting the sled moving backwards and forwards actually helps to sort of lubricate the runners with the ice. Let's see what they can do at the start. Ashley in only her 2nd World Cup start. Adele's 9th as a driver. 5:54 first start, 5:52 second start. They know they need something, and they've got an extra 500s in hand over Kim Kilicki. So Adele needs to have one of the best runs of her career here to stay in front of the 3rd ranked driver this season. Or in fact, currently 2nd ranked driver this season. Best speed for Adele Nichol. The gap's down a fraction to 700s. Nice looking run into the labyrinth. Good out of 10 and 11. 600, second best speed. Kiliki was fastest. The FES sled flies. Decent run out of 13. This is going to be very close. Within a couple of hundreds, but Kiliki had better speed. Kiliki's going to have the lead by 600ths of a second, 52.53. Spoken like a bobsledder, Sean Olsen. Well, still a great run in the first heat, a good run in the second heat as well for Adele Nicol. And Adele, 18th, 23rd and 19th this season. She will be no worse than 7th here. And that, apart from her silver medal in Lake Placid last year, is her best career result in women's bobsleigh. 11th last week. 11th last year, rather. 13th last week. And with Ashley on the back, they will be no worse than 7th. I said Ashley's a 4-time, she's a 3-time Team GB Summer Olympian. There she is on the right-hand side. Great addition to the team. Hopefully she'll get a chance to come across to the World Championships as well. So 10 sleds down, 5 remain. Kim Kiliki leads, and it's really vital for Kiliki that she picks up another spot or two, or she's going to lose second place in the overall rankings. What about Melly Hasler then, with Muswama Kambundi behind her? 5:43, good strong start. They had 5:40 in the first run, the third fastest start in the field. And she's aiming her sights further forward. Only 500ths in front of Kim Kiliki from the first heat. But that big start has really helped her. She was 2600ths up, 2/10ths up now. The Swiss sled didn't have the greatest speed in the first run, and doesn't again. The gap's going to come down. She hasn't made the speed in the labyrinth. This is going to be very tight indeed. Don't forget, only 600ths first to second, only the 10th best speed. Is she in the front of the line? No, she's 300ths back. Has Kiliki done the maths? Is that what she needed to hold off Lisa Butwicz? It might be. It might be. That might just have secured her the silver Crystal Globe. Well, Mel Hasler slips a spot. It'll still be a top 6 finish for Melly, but no chance of getting another 4th place. So that'll be, at worst, her 4th 6th place finish of the season. She's had a 5th and a 4th and 1 7th place as well. So with full fields reliably in the top 6 swinging on almost every occasion, Mel Hasler. All right, 4 to go. Who's going to take the medals? Well, there's 2 battles here. 1 for bronze, hey Catty Bile, and 1 for gold. And they're 3/10ths of a second apart. Nicola Pichler on the back of the sled with the Austrian driver. Now she's only 400ths behind Melissa Lottholz of Canada. That's what has occupied her for the last hour. Thinking how to overcome that. 5:47, so a whisker slower at the start. The start record will remain intact for Keisha Love and Azaria Hill, I think. 2400ths up on Kiliki, out to 3/10ths over Kiliki. Will this be a good benchmark? Because Kim Kiliki's run, 52.46. 2/10ths slower than her first. Catty Bile in the first heat, 52.12. I mean, 3,400ths quicker than Kiliki. But that gap is going down to 2,200ths. Oh, and a long skid. Is this a medal pulling itself out of her hands? It might be. Only the 10th best speed at the bottom, across the line, dead level. So Kiliki, who was 7th in the first heat, will be no worse than 4th and might have a shout at the medals. But Catty Bile, 4th here, is her best result. And she's going to get at least a 4th place finish. Is it a medal? 4th last week, 4th this week. Well, Lillehammer, her 2 best race results of the season. That was not the neatest Catty-Bile run. There's Vanessa Mark with her. So much respect and affection between these athletes, I can't tell you. So 3 to go. Melissa Lott-Holtz with Skylar Sieben behind her. Skylar stepping in this morning as Leah Walkenden was ill. Skylar's 6th World Cup race. The University of Arizona heptathlete and hurdler behind Melissa Lott-Holtz. Melissa, former World Cup standard and Olympic great woman. This is her 20th race as a driver, 17 also as a push athlete, predominantly with Kaylee Humphries over the years. 19 World Cup medals in her career so far. World Cup and World Championship medals for Melissa Lott-Holtz. She's a quarter second up on our joint leaders, Catty-Bile and Kim Kilicki. Best speed of all for the Canadian. Looking good into the labyrinth. Speed is good out of the labyrinth. How good is the speed? 2300s up, the gap's coming down. Good speed. She's back up to extending the advantage. Little late flop off 13. Shouldn't do too much damage to the speed this far down. 12 best speed, 1600s. Are we going to have a 3-way tie? No! 52-62 run. It is bronze at least for Melissa Lott-Holtz. Her 20th medal, her first as a driver. And a first for Skylar Sieben. The Canadians lead with 2 to go. Only the 2nd woman this year, not from Germany, to have grabbed a medal in women's bobsleigh. The other being Keisha Love. Well, Mel stepped away from the sport after the Olympics. Took a year away, spent last year rebuilding her performance and her rankings, and came back to the World Cup, and here she is, end of her 2nd World Cup. First season, if you like, with a medal. 2 to go, Lisa Buchwitz, Nayla Skooten. And now with Kim Kilicki in what may well end up being a 4th position. What happens now? There's only 200s between the top 2, Lisa Buchwitz and Lauren Alter. 5:36 getaway. Wow, another massive start from Buchwitz. But it was Nolter and Levy who were faster in the first heat. Faster at the start by 200s, faster at the bottom by 200s. Oh, little late. Not the best labyrinth. 6700s up, but the speed isn't going to be fantastic at the bottom. 5th best speed, there you go. Wasn't the cleanest labyrinth. Still got the lead, but it will come down a fraction. This is not about Lott-Holtz, it's not about Kilicki, this is about winning the race. Across the line, 52.19. Well, 51.72 in the first heat. 47 hundredths of a second slower. Is that enough for gold? Well, hard to tell, but possibly not. It will be enough at least for silver. Whether that's enough to take the silver crystal globe, I do not know. We'll have to wait for the points at the end. And that will sort of slightly depend, perhaps, on what Lauren Alter does in the next couple of minutes. Well, what a season Buchwitz has had. Wins in the monobob, wins in women's bobsleigh as well. So Lauren Alter, Deborah Levy are Olympic bobsleigh champions from Beijing 2022. Winners in Altenburg. Nolte won with Leni Kluvig in Sigulda. She won again with Deborah in Innsbruck and again with Leni last week. 4 wins so far this season for Lauren Alter. If she seals the deal, it'll be 5 wins out of 7 races this year for Nolte and a deserved Crystal Globe. They start 5:36, just a whisker slower than their first heat, so 200s is the lead. 200s remains the lead. Oh boy, this is going to be tight. We could have a dead heat for gold. A fraction faster doubles the lead to 400s. That's half the time it takes to blink your eye. A 10th up. Going away now, second best speed. Speed from the labyrinth that Bukwitz did not have. Flop off 13, won't slow her down much. 1600s up. Third best speed, she's going all the way for gold. The 5th win of the season for Lauren Alter. Deborah Levy, the Olympic champions, take the gold. Fastest run of the second heat, fastest run of the first heat. Vanessa Mark there to offer her congratulations, as well as Matthias Herpner high-fiving Nolte. Youth Olympic champion here 2016, silver medalist last year, winner last week, winner this week. The Olympic champions are in great form, back and ready for the Worlds. And they will be reunited in women's bobsleigh the first week of March. Second week of March, first week of March, first weekend of March will be, or second weekend actually, will be the Monobob. So Lauren Alter and Deborah Levy are the race winners, and Nolte our World Cup champion, who takes the silver Crystal Globe. Well, Lauren Alter, the winner from Lisa Bukwitz, with Melissa Lotholtz taking bronze, her first medal as a driver in World Cup. Then Katie Bile, Kim Kilicki tied for 4th, ahead of Mel Hasler, with Adele Nicol, Margot Bock, Victoria Chinanska tying with Andrea Grecu to round out the top 10. Cynthia Peer, Kelly Van Petegem, Sarah Blizzard, Ying Ching and Erica Voss, the remainder of our finishers here today. And that is it for the Women's Bobsleigh World Cup. 1 race remains here in Lillehammer. And this afternoon we will see the 4-man in action. But our World Cup champion is also our race winner here. Victory in Altenburg and Sigulda, silver in Winterberg and St. Moritz, gold in Innsbruck, Lillehammer and Lillehammer. And there are your medalists, Lisa Bukwitz and Nera Skuten on the left. And on the right-hand side, Melissa Lotholtz and first-time medalist Skylar Sieben. So the two of them get their first World Cup medal in their current positions together. Well done to Melissa Lotholtz. Would have been very easy, I'm sure, to just be a bit tight and overdrive and let it all escape you. She didn't. She kept cool, calm and collected. And there you go, that's the answer by 10 points, those positions. That last position that Kim Kilicki picked up, not being behind Katie Bile, gave her the 2nd place in the World Cup rankings, ahead of Lisa Bukwitz. Mel Hasler 4th, ahead of Katie Bile, a former World Cup champion, of course. So Lauren Alter is our World Cup champion again. And as last year, the top 3, Nolte, Kilicki and Bukwitz. So 7 World Cup races, The women and four-man did not race in Samaritz on the Sunday, the second time. So just one of those. Yeah. Lara Nolte, our World Cup champion. So Lisa Buchwitz took the mono, and Lara Nolte takes the bobsleigh crown at the end of the season. And that's it for the women's bob until the World Championships at the beginning of March, in a couple of weeks' time. We have four-man still to come. We'll be back live with them at 1300 local, 12 GMT, and that will be in an hour and 40 minutes. We'll see you then. Bye for now.
Der ruht noch ein bisschen aus, mehr oder weniger.